Hello everyone, this video is to introduce and discuss the EB-5 Targeted Employment Area Sneak Peek Map for this year, 2018. My name is Maggie Mullane. I'm an economist with Impact Data Source, part of our specialized EB-5 economics team. Many people use our official annual TEA map to help determine their TEA eligibility of their project. Last year we introduced a sneak peek map to help individuals who wanted to look ahead as the states were introducing their annual data change. So today we are releasing an updated version of that sneak peek map for the coming year, since that annual data change is coming soon. Just real quick, because the EB-5 community knows, the program is facing some changes and has been for a couple of years. We're all pretty certain that one of the things that will change will be TEA definitions. I'll mention some more of that later. But for now, TEAs are still being determined in the same way that they have been, and the map that I'm going to talk about is under those current definitions. So the sneak peek map shows unemployment areas with a fairly low margin of error ahead of the time that the data will be finalized, which will be in the coming months. All right, so it's the end of February, meaning that states will begin updating their unemployment data soon. And clients often ask us around this time of year, since the data is changing, will that affect my project? How will my location look? Will it continue to qualify? Or if I'm looking to start an EB-5 project, will its location qualify this year? We have this map because we know that the annual update is coming soon, like I said. And while the map may be of interest to just about anyone in the EB-5 community, it's mostly for teams that are in certain places of their EB-5 timeline. So mostly for EB-5 teams that are more or less at the beginning of their timeline, and also for teams that maybe started some time ago but are still looking to continue filing investors, specifically after April and May of this year. So EB-5 raises can take a really long time, sometimes a year or more. So there may be older projects out there that are still looking to get more investors or have found investors, but they're still waiting to invest. And they're going to be submitting their petitions after May of this year. So the future TEA status of that project will be important, because just because a project qualified last year doesn't necessarily mean that it will in the coming year, which in terms of data starts after May. It's important to keep in mind that the timing is really important. The EB-5 program is really nuanced. The designation of the TEA matters matters only at the time of the filing or when the immigrant investor makes the investment. So the best approach is to make sure that you have a TEA letter from the state that is the most updated you can get from them to be included in the filing of the I-526 petition. For example, if you have investors filing after May of this year, depending on the state, you will likely need to get a new letter from them to include in that investor's petition. And this map can help you prepare for that situation by letting you look ahead at the project's likely eligibility as a TEA. So depending on your place of the EB-5 timeline of your project, it may be important to look ahead now. Really quickly, I'd like to go over how TEAs are currently determined, and so why the sneak peek map matters. Under the current TEA determination process, there are two types of TEAs, high unemployment areas and rural areas. High unemployment areas are determined by the state, so you submit your request to the state for your TEA certification, and then you'll file the certification letter that they give you with the immigrant investor petitions. USCIS wants to see the most recent unemployment data possible, and of course that is ultimately determined by the state. So the best practice really is to include letters in the filings that use the most up-to-date data that the state is using. High unemployment areas are generally determined using the census share methodology, which combines data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics with data from the Census Bureau's American Community Survey. And finally, aggregating census tracts is currently allowed by most states. Furthermore, some states are very flexible and allow other calculations such as block groups, and some states have certain restrictions. But the most important thing to note really is that we're using the census share methodology here, which combines these two sources of data. And the idea behind that is to allow for the most up-to-date rates. Looking at the data timeline, the most up-to-date rates possible to get are going to come from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. They're releasing data for calendar year 2017. Under the Local Area Unemployment Statistics Program, the LAUS, the BLS has released and finalized all of the months between January and November of 2017. They've released data for December 2017, but right now it's just preliminary. It has not been finalized. And that should be finalized in mid-April, which is when it's been finalized in the past. So once the BLS finalizes its December 2017 data, all of the other finalizations will happen moving forward. The other set of data is the American Community Survey, the most recent of which is the 5-year survey from 2012 to 2016, which has already been finalized. So once the BLS releases its official full data set for calendar year 2017, states will begin to update the data they use to determine your TEA. Of course, that is most of the states because most of them use this approach, but not all of them. And so they'll start doing that once that's released in mid-April, and usually it happens between April and June. So with all that said, we do have enough data now to get a really good idea of what the unemployment rates will ultimately look like, meaning that you get to see these projections ahead of the time when the final data will be released. The updated data means that both the unemployment rates of the tracks will likely change, but it also means the national threshold to determine TA eligibility will change. So with the unemployment rate going down last year, overall, some tracks in some areas may exhibit lower unemployment rates, but that may not necessarily disqualify them as TEAs since the national rate has also decreased. The new rates are shown here. From the BLS, we can see the national unemployment rate was 4.4% in calendar year 2017. So the EB-5 TEA threshold is 150% of that, which is 6.6%. So a tract or a group of census tracts needs to show an unemployment rate of at least 6.6% to qualify as a high unemployment TEA. All right, so the sneak peek map, what it is and what it isn't, and we're almost there, we're about to see it. Sneak peek map is close to final data. It is an approximation of the unemployment data for calendar year 2017. It shows high unemployment areas and rural areas. And the high unemployment areas are the ones that we're mostly concerned with right now. Rural areas won't really change unless and until the OMB office updates the MSA delineations. It is important to note that the sneak peek map is not our official annual map that we release every year, so it does not have the finalized unemployment data. It's just to help you look ahead and see what the unemployment rates will more than likely look like once everything is finalized. It is also not an illustration of any proposed changes to TEA definitions or a discussion of TEAs under proposed EB-5 program reform. All right, so we'll take a look at the map real quick. This is what you'll see when you open the sneak peek map. It looks pretty much the same as our official map, except that it has projected unemployment rates for census tracts. I want to point out a few tips and tricks really quickly. At the bottom left of the screen, there are these two buttons for the legend and the layer, toggle them off and on. So this one is the layer toggle. And right now you can see that we're looking at one of two layers. We're looking at the census tract layer. We can also look at the county layer by ticking this little box right here next to the counties. And I check that, so I turn that layer on. You can see some color adds on top. And this layer really just shows rural designations, so we're going to leave it off for now. It's about the same. So you click the X to make it go away. And then over here is the legend toggle. And you can see what the different colors mean. Real quick, the tracts are defined first as to whether they meet high unemployment area threshold. So they're determined first if they're going to be orange. So clear obviously means that they don't qualify for anything on their own. Orange means that the unemployment rate of the tract is above the threshold, which is 6.6%. And if they don't qualify as orange, then we look and see if they qualify as rural, which is this blue and blue-green. Blue means that it does qualify, and blue-green means that it will qualify as a rural area as long as it's outside a certain city. They'll give you some more details on that in a second. Over here on the left, we have this panel that goes into a bunch of details about what the rates are, some links for the services that we We offer contact information and also how to use the map, which talks a little bit about the blue-green that I just mentioned. And it also discusses a lot of the nitty-gritty details about the underlying data. And you can make it go away by clicking this little arrow here. You can do your search by going to the search bar in the upper right-hand corner. You can type in a city or a place or a street address. Let's do 516 South Flores Street in San Antonio, Texas. So that'll take you straight to the street address. We'll zoom out a little bit to see what's going on around here. And I'm going to click on the census tract around that address to pull up the information about it in this pop-up. So you can see what the tract is. So Census Tract 1921, Bexar County. You can see the total labor force, the number of people employed, and the number of people unemployed, and then the unemployment rate for that tract. So we can compare this preliminary projected unemployment rate, you can see it's 3.6 here, with the threshold, which is 6.6%. So obviously this does not meet the threshold, so it doesn't qualify. And let's look at the ones around it too. So here, this tract is orange, so it obviously qualifies. I'm going to click on it, and we can see that the preliminary unemployment rate is 16.8%. That's really high. So that's not going to change when the BLS releases its finalized December data. If we look at this census tract over here, we can see that the unemployment rate is actually 6.6%, which meets the threshold. So that's not comfortably above the determination line. So, a project in this census tract would need to be aware that they're kind of on the cusp and to really stay on top of when the data is finalized to see what is going to happen with that. Remember that this map uses a general application of TEA determination using the census share methodology, like I mentioned before. And remember that you can combine census tracts, and depending on where you are. So we'll go back to Austin, Texas. So what happens when you search for a city instead of a street address? So, you can combine, say your project is in the census tract, you can combine this census tract with the one next to it and the one next to it and use the aggregate unemployment rate for that area to determine if it's a TEA or not. Some states are very flexible with the combinations of census tracts that they allow. Some are more restrictive. Like California, for example, only allows up to 12 census tracts to be combined. Some states allow the use of block groups. Some use different data, some have different methodologies. Since the states are in charge of TEA certification, the final determination can be different depending on where you are. So this map is just a general analysis of the most common method for determining TEAs, as if all the states are the same way. So just to review, this map is a guide to help you evaluate your project location. It has a low margin of error since it includes almost all of the finalized data except for the last piece, which is the finalization of the December data from the BLS, and most likely isn't going to change much depending on the BLS. This map is to help you determine where your high unemployment areas will be in the coming year. So I had mentioned before that there is some future TEA reform which is coming, and which the EB-5 community is well aware of. So we are watching, and we can make educated guesses about it. Many of the proposed reforms have used similar ideas, such as continuing to use census tracts as the main unit for determining TEAs. Other trends have included using criteria from the New Market Tax Credit Program, which means that would include poverty and median family income criteria as well as unemployment rates. Based on things that have been proposed, we can guess that TEA reform may not allow as much, if any, aggregation of census tracts, but these have all been proposed. We don't know what's going to happen. And most importantly, the reform hasn't happened yet. So right now, TEAs are continuing to be determined the same way that they have been. The process is the same, and along with that process, the data changes every year. So this map will continue to be important as long as TEAs continue to have those same definitions and the same state authority, which, as far as we know, will continue at least for the next few months. So that's that. If you have any questions about any of this, please let us know. If you want to know, will my project continue to qualify? Does my state have special restrictions? My location is tricky, I can't figure it out, let us know. We can look at aggregating census tracts, we can look at various special state allowances, such as block groups, or let you know if your state has special restrictions. We can also talk about TEA reform and how it might affect you as well. At Impact Data Source, we offer a comprehensive suite of EB-5 services, including TEA assessment, which is complimentary. We also offer preliminary job one-page reports. So if you're trying to decide if EB-5 is worth your time, if you're going to get enough jobs, let us know. We can look into it for you. We do comprehensive job creation studies for EB-5 project petitions. We've done over 400 of those. And for states that are special or if they're challenging to get your TEA certified from them, we offer assistance in obtaining those TEA certification letters. We also offer assistance with other EB-5 project documentation such as RFEs, 829s, and 924As. We also have some online resources listed here. Our free annual map is at that link. It's still the one we released last year, and like I said before, we'll update it once all the data has been finalized, as we've been discussing. We also have some more TEA videos like this one on our YouTube channel. So from the EB-5 team at Impact Data Source, thank you for using our map. We hope that the sneak peek map is helpful for you. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have any questions or if we can be of assistance to you and your team at any time. We're always here. Thanks so much.